Panasonic LX100 II, the Mark II version falls just short of full marks by not including a tilting screen. The original Panasonic LX100 is one of our favorite big sensor compacts, with its mix of a 4/3 sensor, 3x optical zoom and serious portability adding up to a cracking street photography camera. 4 years on, the LX100 Mark II brings a set of minor improvements rather than a massive overhaul. Sporting a 4/3 sensor, the same size you'll find in one of Panasonic's mirrorless system cameras, it's a bit more special than your average compact camera, and comes coupled with a 3x optical zoom lens with a fast aperture, 24 to 75 mm equivalent, f/1.8/2.8. So where are the improvements, then? Well, there's a new touch-sensitive screen, additional 4K photo options that bring it in line with other models in Panasonic's lineup, extra creative modes, plus the ability to charge the camera via USB. With its small size but large sensor, it's touted as the perfect travel and street camera, giving you the flexibility of a small zoom while being jacket pocketable. How does it fare against rivals like the Sony RX100 II, Canon G7X Mark II and forthcoming Fujifilm X-F10? If you were to place the older Panasonic LX100 and the new LX100 II side by side, you'd be pretty hard pushed to spot the difference. The main physical change comes in the hand grip, which is now a little chunkier, making it more comfortable to hold for lengthy amounts of time. There's a thumb rest on the back of the camera that helps with this, too. It's a small camera considering the size of the sensor, but you still shouldn't expect to slip it into your jeans pocket. Still, it's a great middle ground between portability and high image quality, with a jacket pocket being a suitable home for it, or of course a bag. As with its predecessor, the LX100 Mark II goes big on tactile controls for pretty much any shooting setting, even though there's now a touch-sensitive screen. If you love traditional dials, then you'll likely be a big fan of the LX100 II setup. There are 2 dials on the top of the camera for adjusting shutter speed and exposure compensation, while aperture is altered the good old-fashioned way with a ring around the camera's lens. Other switches on the lens for choosing focusing mode and aspect ratio are also included. As the camera's sensor is a multi-aspect ratio sensor, the latter switch comes in really handy. Finally, a second dial around the lens can be used to adjust a setting of your own choosing. Flip to the back of the camera and you'll see a pretty familiar array of buttons, certainly if you've used any Panasonic cameras before. You've got a navigational pad, but there's also a set of customizable buttons, giving you yet more options to set up the camera exactly how you like to use it. Which is a good thing, because navigating its many menus can be a little confusing. The zoom lens can be extended by using a switch around the shutter release button. It's a fairly slow-moving zoom, but one feature that is particularly nifty is the ability to quickly jump to different focal lengths, such as 35mm and 50mm, which you can set via the main menu. One of the big upgrades for the LX100 II is the addition of touch sensitivity to the screen. It's not exactly hugely innovative in 2018, but it brings with it some useful additional functionality, such as being able to tap to change the autofocus point. The screen also represents the biggest disappointment with the LX100 II. Having a tilting screen would have made so much sense for a street photography-oriented camera, so the fact that it doesn't have one is a massive letdown. Panasonic decided not to include one to help keep the overall body size down. But when you see even smaller cameras like the Sony RX100 II with a tilting display, excuses like that are harder to swallow. Personally, I think it would have been well worth the sacrifice to make the camera a little bulkier in order to be able to compose from awkward, or more discreet, angles. Accompanying the 3-inch display is an electronic viewfinder. It's relatively small, but shows a bright and clear enough view of the scene to still be useful if you prefer to compose in this manner. There's also a sensor that automatically activates the finder when you lift the camera to your eye, making for a seamless experience. In bright conditions it's extremely handy, while there are plenty of us particularly those coming from larger DSLRs or mirrorless cameras, who simply prefer to compose in this way.